Hello, and this is a 2019 Mustang EcoBoost Balance Shaft Delete. Sorry I don't have any real video because of oily hands and the awkward placement. There wouldn't have been any good video here. So anyways, I made some questions about the install to help out. So the time for the install, it takes around 3 to 4 hours, hand tools only, and you can speed this up with power tools. So first off, you're going to remove the skid plate and then remove the power steering skid plate and guards. This is for clearance, so you can do it because you do not have to remove your engine cradle. So you do have to lower your engine cradle. And yes, you need to at least loosen the back two bolts, and I'll show you the next screen. I've made a slideshow and then I have some pictures to help out. So it's quite a daunting task if you don't know what you're doing, but anybody can do it. So will the oil pan clear the cradle? The oil pan will come out without pulling the bolts at the back of the engine cradle where it bolts to the body directly, but the balance shaft and the oil pickup tube have to come off prior to putting the oil or taking the oil pan off, which in reverse you have to put the pickup tube back in as well. So your tools needed, you're going to need a ratchet that's an 18 millimeter, that's for the engine cradle. I think there are 12 bolts. Then you're going to have a 22 millimeter. There's two bolts for this. This is both the engine mount bolts. Your 13 millimeter is your balance shaft bolts. There's 4 of those. And there's 4 transmission to oil pan bolts. You're going to have your 10 millimeter. It's your oil pan and 1 pickup tube bolt. So there's, I think there's like 18 10 millimeter bolts. And then you're going to have 8 millimeter bolts at the oil pickup tube bolts. There's 2 of those, and then there's 4 across the front of the oil pan to remove this. Like I said, this takes 3 to 4 hours to install, so just keep that in mind. So I put a jack right here underneath my transmission so I can lift the motor up. And if you notice, these bolts right here are still in. I left those there to where I can lower the cradle down, and you don't have to remove the rest. So the oil pan's off, which is up here. The balance shaft was actually removed in this picture, but I used it for reference because it's as quick as I could get cleaned up and take pictures. So I was working up under here through this hole, and then here's the balance shaft inside of the car. So you have this bolt, and then you have a bolt here and a bolt here. The whole balance shaft will come out. This does not exist in our car. So this is what it looks like when the balance shaft is removed. This is the balance shaft pulley. And just so everybody knows, if you could take this off, this little gear right here, you could reduce an additional 5 pounds off the motor, which will allow it to free up even more. Which, if you buy an aftermarket crankshaft, you could put that in. So anyways, this is what the little install looks like. And this is just to block off the oil passage. And this bolt is bigger than you see in this picture, but it is quite good size. So it's the same size as the balance shaft bolts, and it actually goes in there, and you need to thread lock this. This is what it looks like installed. This picture was borrowed from Boundtune, however you want to spell it. So this is where the bolt goes in, which is the original bolt hole for one of the balance shaft holes. And the port is right here where the oil feeds it. So this is what it looks like. This thing weighs about 13 pounds itself. Full of oil, it's close to 18. You do have to add an additional quart of oil to your car when you remove this. But your balance shaft bolt or the block off plate that you're putting in goes right in this area. So when you're looking at this is where it goes. This is the bolt hole that it bolts to, and this is the oil passage. So that's the pictures that I was actually able to take. So our benefits or our negatives are positive here. The balance shaft weighs approximately 18 pounds when full of oil and drags the engine down. Approximately the same benefit as installing a lightweight flywheel. So removal makes the engine more responsive. Our throttle response, while is better, it also drags the car down. So keep that in mind. So 10 additional horsepower can be seen on a dyno, but is from less engine weight and not additional horsepower. Our negatives: the balance shaft makes the car slightly easier or slightly heavier. So it also makes the car slightly easier to stall. So since it's removed, the car does not hold its revs as long. So that's what I can tell you. So if you rev your car up, it tends to rev down faster. And your shift times are slightly more important since your motor's lighter, but you need to remember that for anybody that's ever installed a lightweight flywheel. And that's pretty much going to do this install since I couldn't video it.